I rise today to speak in favor of the congressional resolution of disapproval that Senator Inhofe has filed under the Congressional Review Act to stop the EPA from implementing one of the most expensive rules in recent memory. I thank my colleague, Senator Inhofe, for introducing this important resolution to send a message to the EPA. I'd like to say a few words about the little state of West Virginia, who does the heavy lifting that helps this entire nation. We have mined the coal, we make the steel, that we have done just about everything that we possibly can. We have more people that probably serve percentage-wise in the military than any other state. We've given our all for this great state, and we'll continue to do the heavy lifting. But what we need to do is make sure that the EPA makes sure that this government's working with us, not against us. Government's role is to be a partner, not an adversary, but an ally, and that's what we're asking for. We're asking to work with the businesses and not against them. We're asking them to understand our actions. Their actions will put thousands of hardworking Americans out of a job in the worst economy in generations. Don't raise electricity rates on the consumers who can barely afford their monthly bills today. And it's mostly our seniors and people struggling with their families trying to make a living. The economic realities is that the environment and the economy has to work in hand by hand. It has to be in balance. From the day I arrived in the Senate, I've been determined to stop the EPA's job-killing agenda, and this resolution of disapproval takes an important step to rein in this out-of-control agency. Let me explain this to you. Where I come from in the state of West Virginia, like most states, we do our rules and regulations through a legislative process. People have to vote. We don't give bureaucratic agencies the right to set policy. The people have given us that responsibility and that right for us as elected leaders to set the policy. And that's what we're asking here. We have this agency stepping way beyond its boundaries, further than our founding fathers ever intended, that's putting an absolute burden on the backs of every American. Along with a handful of other rules on the verge of being implemented or already in place, the utility MAC rule would cost the U.S. economy up to $275 billion over the next 25 years. According to the Electric Power Research Institute, and the utility MAC would cost 1.3 million jobs over the next two decades, according to the National Economic Research Association. On the issue of utility MAC, I have heard from thousands of West Virginians in the past several weeks. In fact, just yesterday, I had 45 of my constituents from Boone County, West Virginia, get on a bus, 756 miles, drive all day to get here to be able to speak to some of us, and drive last night to go back home. That's how committed and dedicated. Most of them had either worked in the mines, was working in some aspect of mining. People think just mining is just coal mining and coal mining only. It's not. The energy business is basically if you work in a battery factory, you work in a machine shop, if you work in any type of ancillary jobs, the ripple effect is unbelievable to our economy. If you work in a power plant, these people are scared to death because all they hear every day is they're going to lose their jobs because the government is going to shut them down and work against them. About 3/4 of the miners in the room had already been laid off. Because they're fighting for their jobs, they brought their family and children with them. They wanted to make sure that we could put the faces and real people with what's happening with the rules that we pass here. Mr. President, our coal miners are the salt of the earth, Madam President. They work so hard to provide energy for our country and to provide for their families. They don't want a handout. All they want is a work permit. That's all they've asked for. Now is not the time to pull the rug out from under them and make them worry about how they're going to pay their bills or feed for their family. Madam President, I believe this country needs to strike a balance, and I've said that before. Our lives are about balance. Every day you get up in the morning, you look for a balance in your life. You look for a balance in how government or how you run your business or how you can make a living. And that's what we need to find here in this body today. The EPA has truly gone too far. You've heard so many different testimonies about that. And that is why I'll be casting my vote in favor of this resolution by Senator Inhofe to disapprove of their new rules. And I urge all of my colleagues to do the same. Madam President, I truly believe that energy is an issue where we can bring thoughtful members together on both parties to work out solutions. Let me point to an important example. In the time I have served, I have learned that many of my colleagues know of West Virginia only as a coal state. They had no idea what we do and how we do it. So this past weekend, I wanted to make sure that they understood that not only do we do coal, we do wind, we do hydro, we do natural gas with the Marcellus Shale, tremendous find, biomass. We're doing everything we can. And we think every state should be held accountable and responsible to try to be energy independent. and do it in the most friendly environmental way. So this weekend, I invited the leaders of our Energy Committee, Senators Wyden and Murkowski, a Democrat and a Republican, that spent the weekend with me to tour our state and to see how West Virginia's all-in policy for energy independence works. One of them will likely be the next chair of the Energy and Natural Resources, but I can assure you that both of them will work as a team, trying to find a policy that works for this country. You'll hear both of them say, one size doesn't fit all. We need everything, and we have to find the solutions for this. A comprehensive energy plan for this country, which brings me to our recent visit to West Virginia. They saw how we're already using all of the above approach. In the eastern part of my state, we stopped at Mount Storm. They saw a 264 megawatt wind farm. They saw a 1,600 megawatt coal-fired power plant with the most modern of technology that cleans up the air 95%. They saw it all. And when the wind isn't blowing, basically they saw there was no power generated, and especially in the hot summer or the cold winter. So basically what we're saying is that we're doing everything we possibly can. We will continue to. In short, Madam President, we saw a little bit of everything that can be done if you work together. I want to thank, and I think it should be a bipartisan effort, that we find a solution. We can't continue to keep fighting each other, and agencies can't continue to keep controlling what we're not legislating. If it hasn't been legislated, it shouldn't be put into law until we're able to evaluate it. I appreciate what's being done today, the bipartisan effort that we're talking about. We have our differences, but we can come together. I want to thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.